My mother's post hit 218,000 shares overnight with my photo edited to brand me the ungrateful daughter. At 3 a.m. the next morning, my stepfather kicked down my bedroom door, and my blood ended up on the kitchen floor tiles. Too bad for him my hidden camera caught every frame of his face. They thought I'd disappear in shame. They didn't know I had the original deed to the house and Summit and Crew Forensics legal team on speed dial. In Silver Ridge, Colorado, people believe the loudest sound comes from mountain winds. That Monday morning, the loudest sound was the click of handcuffs. My name is Evelyn Hart, and I hadn't set foot in Silver Ridge for 10 years. Not since Dad's funeral, when the mountain town felt more like a cage than a home. Now, at 32, I was a data fraud investigator at Summit and Crew Forensics in Denver, dissecting digital lies for a living. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd built a career exposing deception while running from my own family's twisted version of truth. The call from Grandma Ruth came on a Tuesday afternoon while I was knee-deep in spreadsheets. Her voice, usually steady as granite, cracked when she told me Grandpa was gone. Heart attack in his workshop, tools still in hand. She mentioned something else, something about the house on Spruce Hollow being restructured financially. The way she said it made my skin crawl. I caught the last flight to Colorado Springs that night, then drove the rental car up into the Rockies. Silver Ridge hadn't changed much, same pine-scented air, same narrow streets carved between mountain slopes, same gossipy energy radiating from the coffee shop windows. But the house I'd grown up in wore a different name on the mailbox: Riker. Doug Riker, Mom's second husband, though husband seemed too dignified a term for what he was. When I pulled into the gravel driveway at 8:45 p.m., he was already on the porch, beer belly straining against a Harley-Davidson shirt he hadn't earned the right to wear. The born-to-ride cap perched on his head looked as authentic as his mechanic credentials, which is to say, not at all. Well, he drawled, bourbon fumes preceding him down the steps. The prodigal daughter returns. Mom appeared in the doorway behind him. Marla Whitaker now, having shed the Hart name like dead skin. She'd aged in ways that had nothing to do with time. Her shoulders hunched forward, eyes darting between Doug and me like she was calculating exits. Evelyn, just my name, flat as week-old soda. Inside, the house reeked of cigarettes and something else: neglect. Maybe. Dad's woodworking bench had been shoved into a corner, covered with empty bottles. The kitchen table where we'd eaten Sunday dinners now served as Doug's ashtray collection station. "Funeral's Thursday," Mom said, not meeting my eyes. "You can stay in your old room." That night, I pulled out the manila folder I'd kept in my apartment safe for a decade. The original purchase agreement from 2010, when Dad and I had bought this house together after his medical discharge from the Army. My name was right there as cosigner, clear as day. The clause we'd insisted on, transfer, requires mutual consent of all parties, and the protection provision for military service or extended work assignments. Dad had been paranoid about protecting the house. Turns out, he'd been right. I photographed every page with my phone, uploaded them to 3 different cloud servers, and texted my boss at Summit and Crew. His response came instantly. "Document everything. Record if legal in your state. Colorado is one-party consent." The house creaked around me, familiar yet foreign. Somewhere down the hall, Doug's snoring competed with the television's drone. I sat on my childhood bed, laptop open, and began what I did best: building a digital case file. Property records, tax assessments, social media profiles. Doug Riker's history unfolded like a bad poker hand: bankruptcies, liens, a string of self-employed years that produced no traceable income. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number, but the area code was local. "Heard you're back in town. Your mom's been saying things." I didn't respond. Instead, I opened Facebook and typed Mom's name into the search bar. Her profile was public. Of course, privacy settings were for people with something to hide, and Mom had always believed her life was an open book. I scrolled through posts about church fundraisers and Doug's successful business ventures. Then I saw a post from 3 hours ago, while I was driving up the mountain. Some people think they can just waltz back into your life when there's something to gain, praying for strength. 47 likes already. The comments were worse. I screenshotted everything, my investigator instincts running on autopilot, timestamps, URLs, metadata all preserved, because if there was one thing I'd learned at Summit and Crew, it was that the first lie is never the last. Outside my window, Silver Ridge slept under a blanket of stars, peaceful and oblivious. But I wasn't here for peace. I was here to protect what was mine, what Dad had died believing would stay in our family. The question was, how far would Mom and Doug go to take it? The Facebook post went live at 11:17 p.m. on my first night back. I was lying in bed, scrolling through property records on my laptop, when my phone exploded with notifications. Mom had outdone herself. The post featured a photo of me from 10 years ago, the day I'd left Silver Ridge, exhausted and grieving. She'd applied some crude filter that made my eyes look cold, calculating. The caption was a masterpiece of manipulation. Sometimes the children you sacrifice everything for show their true colors when money enters the picture. My daughter Evelyn Hart. Yes, she kept her father's name. Not mine, is back in town trying to steal the house my husband and I have maintained for years. She abandoned us after her father died. Never called. Never visited. And now that my father has passed, God rest his soul, she swoops in like a vulture. Please pray for us as we deal with this betrayal. A mother's heart can only take so much. Within an hour, it had 300 shares. Doug and his drinking buddies had pushed it into Silver Ridge Proud and Colorado Mountain Folk local Facebook groups with thousands of members who loved nothing more than fresh drama. The comments were a feeding frenzy. What kind of daughter does that to her own mother? Probably wants to sell it to some Denver developer. I remember her. Always thought she was too good for this town. Doug's a good man. He doesn't deserve this. My phone rang. Unknown number. Local area code. Is this Evelyn Hart? A woman's voice, probably mid-50s, dripping with righteous indignation. Who's asking? Someone who thinks you should be ashamed of yourself. Click. 3 more calls like that before I turned off my ringer. Then the text messages started. Screenshots of Mom's post with added commentary. Someone had found my LinkedIn and posted my work number. By midnight, my professional voicemail had 4 messages about what a terrible person I was. I sat up, laptop balanced on my knees, and got to work. First, I took forensic screenshots of everything, not just regular screenshots, but ones that captured metadata, hash values, and timestamps. I used tools from work to archive the entire page, creating an unalterable record. Chain of custody matters in court, and I was building my chain link by link. Doug's Facebook was a goldmine of stupidity. He'd been sharing Mom's post with added commentary. Some people have no respect for family. Evelyn Hart is trying to destroy what we've built. Share if you believe in family values. I noticed something interesting in the metadata. The original photo Mom had used my exhausted face from a decade ago had been edited at 10:43 p.m. from Doug's laptop. His device ID was embedded in the file properties. Mom might have posted it, but Doug had manufactured the weapon. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Come home tomorrow. We need to talk like adults. Another from Doug. A voice message. His slurred words made my skin crawl. You think you're smart, college girl? You come after what's mine. You'll regret it. This ain't Denver. We handle things different here. Perfect. Colorado's recording laws meant I could keep that threat legally. I backed it up to 3 different servers. At 1:30 a.m., I made a decision. I pulled out my emergency investigation kit, something I'd started carrying after a case went sideways 2 years ago. Inside were 3 micro cameras, each no bigger than a button, with motion activation and night vision. Battery life of 72 hours, recording at 24 frames per second with audio. The house was silent except for Doug's snoring. I crept downstairs, muscle memory guiding me past the creaky 3rd step. The first camera went behind the kitchen clock, angled to cover the entire room. The second, I tucked into the hallway smoke detector, giving a clear view of all bedroom doors. The third became my insurance hidden in my room, aimed at the door. Back in bed, I synced the cameras to my phone and laptop. The feeds were crystal clear. Even in the dark, everything would upload automatically to my encrypted cloud storage. My phone lit up with another Facebook notification. Mom's post had hit 2,000 shares. Someone had tagged the local news station. The Silver Ridge community page had made it their pinned post with a call for community support against ungrateful children who abandon their parents. I typed out a response a dozen times, then deleted each one. Let them think I was silent. Let them think I was beaten. Every share, every comment, every lie was becoming evidence. Defamation, harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The civil suit was writing itself. At 2:45 a.m., a new message appeared. Not Facebook this time, email. From Aiden Cross, senior partner at Cross & Pike, Denver's premier property law firm. I'd sent him the documentation earlier. Ms. Hart, I've reviewed your materials. Your claim appears solid. Given the escalating harassment documented on social media, I recommend immediate action. Can you meet tomorrow? Also, please maintain all evidence and consider your safety. Based on the voice message you forwarded, a protective order may be warranted. A. Cross. Outside my window, Silver Ridge slept peacefully, unaware that their viral entertainment was about to become a legal nightmare. Mom thought public humiliation would make me disappear. Doug thought his threats would make me run. They had no idea what they'd just started. The door exploded inward at 3:07 a.m. I'd been half awake, phone in hand, reviewing Aiden Cross's email when Doug's boot connected with the flimsy lock. The door slammed against the wall, and there he stood silhouetted by the hallway light, swaying slightly, reeking of bourbon and rage. You think you're fucking clever, his words slurred together. Bringing lawyers into this, I sat up, keeping my movements slow, non-threatening. The camera hidden in my smoke detector would be capturing everything. Stay calm. Let him dig his own grave. Doug, you're drunk. Go back to bed. Don't tell me what to do in my house. He lurched forward, grabbing my arm, yanking me out of bed. My shoulder screamed as he dragged me into the hallway. Mom stood at their bedroom door, bathrobe clutched tight, face pale in the dim light. Our eyes met for a second, hers wide with something between fear and shame before she turned away, stepped back into their room. The soft click of their door closing was somehow louder than Doug's ragged breathing. You're gonna sign papers tomorrow, Doug said, pulling me toward the kitchen. Gonna sign this house over to your mother and disappear. Understand, that's not how property law works. The slap came fast, his open palm connecting with my left cheek. The force spun me into the kitchen counter, hip bone meeting granite edge. Pain shot through my side. I said, "Do you understand?" I tasted copper, blood from where my teeth had cut into my cheek. I understand you just committed assault. He laughed an ugly, wet sound. Who's gonna believe you? Whole town knows you're a lying little bitch trying to steal from your own mother. He shoved me again. This time I went down, knees hitting the tile floor hard. Something warm trickled from my nose. Blood dripped onto the white tiles, 1 drop, 2, 3. The kitchen camera would be getting all of this. The audio, the angles, his face. Get up, he said. Get up and get out of my house. I stood slowly, one hand on the counter for support. My hip throbbed. My face felt hot, swollen. I'm calling the police. Go ahead. He stepped closer, bourbon breath washing over me. Sheriff's my drinking buddy, your word against mine, and your mother's. She'll back me up, won't you? Marla. Silence from the hallway, but I knew she was listening. Get out, he repeated, or next time will be worse. I walked past him, careful not to make sudden movements. Back in my room, I locked what was left of the broken door and immediately opened my phone. The camera app showed me everything, Doug's face clear in the hallway feed, the kitchen camera catching him striking me, the blood on the floor visible even in night vision. I uploaded everything to 3 separate cloud services, then emailed copies to Aiden Cross with a single subject line, "Evidence of assault urgent." My hands shook as I took photos of my injuries. The left side of my face was already swelling, a bruise forming along my cheekbone. My lip was split. Blood had dried under my nose. My hip showed the beginning of what would be a massive bruise. I photographed everything, then opened my incident reporting app, something Summit and crew required all field investigators to have. Incident report. SH001, date Thursday, 3:07 a.m., location, 447 Spruce Hollow Road, Silver Ridge, CO subject Douglas Riker, type physical assault injuries, facial contusion, split lip, bloody nose, hip contusion, evidence video 3 angles, audio, photographs, witnesses, Marla Whitaker present but did not intervene, GPS confirmed 39.55501 degree N, 105.11821 degree W. I cleaned my face with tissues from my bag, hands still trembling. Not from fear, from rage. But rage had to wait. Right now, I needed to be smart. At 3:45 a.m., Aiden Cross called. "I got your email. Are you safe?" "For now. He's passed out probably. I'm filing for an emergency protective order at 8 a.m. when the courthouse opens. Can you get somewhere safe until then? I need to be at my grandfather's funeral at 10. I'll meet you there. Bring everything, all documentation, all devices. We're also filing criminal charges. The video you sent is damning." He said the sheriff's his friend. "Then we'll go above the sheriff. I know the district attorney. She doesn't tolerate domestic violence, regardless of who's friends with whom." After the call, I packed quickly, quietly. Everything important went into my rental car laptop, cameras, documents. I drove to the 24-hour diner on Highway 285 and sat in a booth with coffee I couldn't drink, watching the sun rise over the mountains. My phone buzzed with texts from unknown numbers. News of the family drama was spreading. But now I had something they didn't expect: video evidence of their good old boy Doug assaulting a woman at 3 a.m., while her mother listened and did nothing. At 6:30 a.m., I changed into my black funeral dress in the diner bathroom, using makeup to minimize the bruising. The woman in the mirror looked tired but determined. Dad would have been proud. He'd taught me to document everything, to fight smart, not hard. At 7, I texted the video files to my entire legal team at Summit and crew. My boss responded immediately. "Taking this to our criminal division. You have full firm support." The funeral started in 3 hours. Doug and Mom would be there, playing the grieving family. They had no idea that while they performed their sorrow, Aiden Cross would be filing papers that would destroy their entire scheme. The blood on the kitchen floor had dried by now, but the cameras were still recording. Aiden Cross stood out at the funeral like a wolf among sheep. His charcoal suit cost more than most people in Silver Ridge made in a month, and he carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who'd destroyed bigger men than Doug Riker before breakfast. We met in the funeral home's tea room while the service droned on. I could hear the minister talking about Grandpa's service to his country, his dedication to family. Ironic, considering what his family was doing to each other in his absence. "My team's been busy," Aiden said, sliding a tablet across the small table. "Look at this." The screen showed Doug's financial history, and it was worse than I'd imagined. 2 years ago, he'd taken out a home equity loan against the Spruce Hollow property, $70,000. The signature on the application was supposedly Mom's, but even to my untrained eye, it looked wrong. The M in Marla was too sharp, the loops too wide. "We pulled your mother's verified signatures from 6 different documents." Aiden continued, swiping to a comparison chart. Driver's license renewal, voter registration, her employment forms at the elementary school. None of them matched the loan application. He forged it, almost certainly. But there's more. Another swipe. "Your grandfather's workshop tools, the complete DeWalt collection your father bought him, sold on Facebook Marketplace 14 months ago. Your grandfather's military memorabilia, including his Purple Heart listed on an auction site 8 months ago. My stomach turned. Grandpa's Purple Heart. Sold for $3,000 to a collector in Texas. We have screenshots of Doug's account, his PayPal receipts, everything. Through the doorway, I could see people filing past Grandpa's casket. Mom stood next to Doug, dabbing at dry eyes with a tissue, playing the grieving daughter perfectly. "There's something else," Aiden said, pulling out a manila folder. I had my assistant pull the property records from Summit County. "Look at this notation." He pointed to a line of text on an official document. "Subject to existing claims, see Covenant Filing 2010, 447B. "That's our original purchase agreement," I breathed. "Which is still legally binding. Doug may have forged loan documents, but he couldn't erase the county's records. You're still the co-owner. Evelyn. They can't sell, can't transfer, can't do anything without your signature." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number with a screenshot Mom had posted again an hour ago, while we were all supposed to be mourning, at my father's funeral. But some people can't even respect the dead. My daughter brought a lawyer to her grandfather's funeral. "Who does that?" "Actually," Aiden said, looking at his phone. "This is perfect. She's admitting I'm here in a professional capacity, which establishes that she knew about the legal dispute before the assault. That undermines any claim that Doug was just protecting their property." My boss at Summit and Crew had been working too. Another email. "Digital forensics found something interesting. The original photo your mother posted was taken by a Samsung Galaxy S10 Doug's phone model, but it was edited on a Dell laptop registered to Doug Riker, then uploaded using his IP address. Your mother may have hit post, but Doug orchestrated the whole campaign. We need to file now," I said, "before they can do any more damage." Aiden nodded. "I've prepared 5 filings. 1 emergency injunction freezing all property transfers, 2 restraining order against Doug with no contact and no alcohol provisions, 3 criminal assault charges based on this morning's attack, 4 defamation suit for the social media campaign, 5 fraud charges for the forged signatures and illegal sales. All of that. Your case is what we call a gift with ribbons. Clear documentation, video evidence, digital forensics, and perpetrators stupid enough to keep committing crimes while we're building the case." The funeral was ending. People were filing out toward the reception hall. Mom appeared in the doorway, saw me with Aiden, and her face went white. "Evelyn, this is neither the time nor Mrs. Whitaker," Aiden interrupted smoothly, standing. "Aiden Cross, Cross and Pike Law Firm. I'll be representing Ms. Hart in several matters. You should know that as of, he checked his Rolex 1145, an emergency injunction has been filed freezing all assets related to the Spruce Hollow property. Any attempt to sell, transfer, or further encumber the property will be considered contempt of court." Mom's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Doug appeared behind her, face red. "You brought a lawyer to your grandfather's funeral." Doug's voice was loud enough that several people turned to stare. "Mr. Riker," Aiden said pleasantly, "I'd advise you not to approach my client. The restraining order will be served within the hour. Violation will result in immediate arrest." "This is bullshit." "No," I said, finding my voice. "Bullshit is forging my mother's signature to steal $70,000. Bullshit is selling my grandfather's Purple Heart while he was still alive. Bullshit is assaulting me at 3 a.m. and thinking you'd get away with it because the sheriff's your drinking buddy." The reception hall had gone silent. Everyone was watching now. "Oh," I added, pulling out my phone. "And Doug, the kitchen has excellent acoustics. Every word you said this morning, every threat, every impact, it's all recorded, in high definition, with multiple angles." His face went from red to purple to white in the span of 3 seconds. "The forensic audit starts Monday," Aiden announced to the room. "Anyone who's purchased items from Doug Riker that belonged to the Hart estate, please retain your receipts. You'll be contacted about returning stolen goods." An elderly man in the back one of Grandpa's veteran buddies spoke up. "Doug sold me Bill's combat knife, said it was his to sell." "That knife belonged to my grandfather," I said. And I'll be getting it back." The room erupted in whispers. Mom grabbed Doug's arm, pulling him toward the exit, but the damage was done. In small towns like Silver Ridge, reputation was everything, and theirs had just shattered like my bedroom door at 3A. Judge Bishop signed the temporary restraining order at 2:15 p.m. By 3:30, Deputy Ortiz was escorting me back to the house on Spruce Hollow Road. Doug was in the driveway, loading boxes into his truck. When he saw the sheriff's cruiser, he dropped a cardboard box, beer bottles shattering on the gravel. "What the hell is this?" he shouted. Deputy Ortiz stepped out first, hand resting on his service weapon. "Mr. Riker, I'm here to serve you with a temporary restraining order and to supervise Ms. Hart's retrieval of her belongings." "This is my house." Ortiz, a young officer who clearly wasn't part of Doug's drinking circle, pulled out the court order and began reading. "Douglas Riker, you are ordered to maintain a minimum distance of 100 yards from Evelyn Hart. You are prohibited from entering the property at 447 Spruce Hollow Road for the duration of this order. You are prohibited from consuming alcohol or controlled substances. Violation of any terms will result in immediate arrest." His body camera was recording everything. I noticed him angle slightly to ensure Doug's face was clearly visible. "This is bullshit, Tom," Doug called to our neighbor. "Tom, you seeing this?" Tom Mitchell, Vietnam veteran, 73 years old, walked over from his property line. In his weathered hands was a worn leather sheath. "I'm seeing it," Tom said quietly. Then he turned to me. "Evelyn, this was your grandfather's K-bar knife from Korea. Doug sold it to me 6 months ago. Said Bill wanted me to have it. I knew that was a lie. But Bill was too sick to fight about it. He handed me the knife. I kept it safe for you." "Tom, what the fuck?" Doug started. "Shut your mouth," Tom said, steel in his voice. "I've got your granddad's compass too, Evelyn, and his unit patches. Doug made the rounds to all us vets, selling Bill's things while he was dying in hospice. We all knew what he was doing." More neighbors had gathered. Mrs. Patterson from 2 houses down spoke up. "He tried to sell me Margaret's jewelry, your grandmother's wedding set. I told him I'd call the police." Doug's face was purple again. "You're all gonna regret this." "Mr. Riker," Deputy Ortiz said, "I'm going to need you to step back while Ms. Hart inspects the property." Inside the house, it was worse than I'd expected. The filing cabinet in Dad's old office had been ransacked. Empty folders scattered the floor, but Doug hadn't been thorough behind the cabinet. Taped to the wall was an envelope Dad had hidden years ago. Inside receipts for every tool in Grandpa's workshop, photos of his military memorabilia with detailed descriptions, and a handwritten note. "In case something happens, everything listed here belongs to our family. Never let anyone take it. Dad." In the kitchen, I knelt by the tiles. The blood from this morning had been mopped, but not well. Under blacklight from my investigation kit, the splatter pattern was still visible. I photographed everything. The hidden cameras were still in place, still recording. I left them. Let Doug hang himself further. In the garage, I found what Doug had been loading Grandpa's tool collection that hadn't been sold yet. A sticky note on one box read, "Estate sale Saturday." "Deputy," I called. "He's planning to sell stolen property." Ortiz looked at the boxes, then at Doug. "Mr. Riker, these items are subject to the property freeze. You'll need to unload everything back into the garage." "I don't have to—" "Yes," Ortiz said firmly. "You do." While Doug unloaded boxes under Ortiz's supervision, more neighbors approached me. Each had a story. Doug had borrowed money from the Petersons, never paid it back, told the Johnsons he owned the house outright, tried to use it as collateral for a personal loan, claimed to be a Desert Storm veteran at the VFW until someone checked his records he'd never served a day. Mrs. Chen from the elementary school where Mom worked arrived, looking upset. "Evelyn, I'm so sorry. Your mother's been telling everyone at school that you're trying to make them homeless. But yesterday, Doug showed up drunk at 2:30 p.m. during school hours, screaming at her about lawyers. The principal had to call security." There were children present. "Would you be willing to make a statement?" I asked. "Already did. To the principal and to the police." Doug, now unloading the last box, shouted, "You're all traitors, every one of you." Tom Mitchell laughed a harsh sound. "Rich coming from a man who stole valor and sold a dying veteran's possessions." "I served my country," Doug yelled. "Where?" Tom asked. "What unit? What years?" Doug's mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. "That's what I thought," Tom said. He turned to the growing crowd. "This man's been claiming veteran status at the VFW, getting discounts, taking charity meant for real veterans. Makes me sick." A reporter from the Silver Ridge Gazette had arrived, camera out, recording everything. The story was writing itself "Local man exposed for stolen valor and elder abuse." Mom's car pulled up then, and she emerged looking haggard. She saw the crowd, the deputy, the cameras, and her face crumpled. "Evelyn," she whispered, "what have you done? What have I done?" I held up Dad's envelope with the inventory. "I'm protecting what Dad and Grandpa built, what you let Doug steal and destroy." "I didn't know." "You knew." My voice was calm, factual. "You turned away at 3A. When he assaulted me, you posted lies about me online while he edited my photos to humiliate me. You watched him sell Grandpa's Purple Heart and said nothing." The crowd was silent, watching. Mom looked around at her neighbors, her co-workers, people she'd known for years. They all stared back, judgment clear in their eyes. "Mrs. Whitaker," Deputy Ortiz said, "I need to inform you that you're named as a party in several civil actions. You should contact an attorney." Mom's legs seemed to give out. She leaned against her car, looking older than her 58 years. "The house," she whispered. "Where will we live?" "That's not my problem anymore," I said. "You chose him over family. Now live with that choice." As we drove away, Deputy Ortiz said quietly, "That was hard to watch." "No," I replied, looking at the knife Tom had returned Grandpa's Ka-bar, still sharp after all these years. What's hard is watching someone destroy everything your family built while everyone pretends not to see. Today was just the truth coming home. The law office of Cross and Pike occupied the top floor of a converted Victorian in downtown Silver Ridge. At 4 p.m. Monday, Mom sat across from me at the polished conference table, looking like she'd aged a decade over the weekend. Between us lay the documents that would determine everything: property restructuring agreements, sworn affidavits, and on Aiden's laptop, the video from 3 a.m. Thursday morning, paused on Doug's face mid-swing. "Before we begin," Aiden said, adjusting his glasses, "Mrs. Whitaker, you should know that you have the right to your own attorney present." "I can't afford one," Mom said quietly. "Doug spent the retainer money at the casino." I pushed a folder across the table. "Black Canyon Casino. Right here are his Players Club statements. $73,000 in losses over 18 months. The money from the forged home equity loan gone in 6 weeks." Mom's hands trembled as she looked at the statements. Doug's name on every one. Timestamps showing him gambling while she was at work. "This is what we're proposing," Aiden said, placing a document in front of her. "Ms. Hart becomes sole legal owner of the property, reverting to the original 2010 purchase agreement. You, Mrs. Whitaker, receive lifetime residency rights. You can live there until you choose to leave or pass away. However, you cannot use the property as collateral, cannot transfer any interest, and cannot allow Douglas Riker on the premises." "Where would Doug go?" Mom asked. "That's not our concern," I said. "But I'd guess prison, given the forgery, assault, and fraud charges." Mom stared at the papers. "If I don't sign, then we proceed with the criminal and civil cases." Aiden explained. "You're named as co-defendant in the defamation suit. The Facebook post originated from your account. Even if Doug edited the photos, you could be liable for damages to Ms. Hart's professional reputation." I opened my laptop and played a voice message from my boss. Evelyn, we've had 17 calls about that viral post. 3 clients are questioning whether we should handle their cases if our investigators are involved in family fraud, as one put it. Our PR department is handling it, but this is impacting the firm. 17 calls, I repeated, to my workplace, because of lies you spread. Mom was crying now, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Yes, you did, I said. You wanted to humiliate me into disappearing. Well, congratulations, you humiliated me in front of 200,000 people. Now face the consequences. Aiden clicked play on the video. The kitchen camera footage rolled Doug's voice slurring threats, his hand connecting with my face, me falling to the floor, blood dripping onto white tile. Then the hallway camera mom standing in her bedroom doorway, watching, turning away. Stop, Mom whispered. Please stop. That's assault and battery, Aiden said. With you as an accessory for failing to intervene or report, the district attorney is very interested in this video. I pulled out another document. There's more. We found the real ownership papers from 2010 in Dad's safety deposit box, the one you told me was empty. His will, leaving his half of the house to me. The life insurance policy you cashed out, forged my signature on the beneficiary change. Should I continue? Mom's face was gray. Doug said it was all legal. He said, Doug says a lot of things, I interrupted, like claiming to be a veteran, like telling Tom Mitchell that Grandpa wanted him to have that knife, like promising you he'd take care of everything while he gambled away your future. Sign here, initial here, and here. Aiden pointed to the flagged sections. This agreement includes a provision that you'll post a public retraction and apology on the same Facebook account where the original defamation was posted. I can't, Mom said. Doug will. Doug is subject to a restraining order. Aiden reminded her. If he contacts you about this, he goes to jail. I stood and walked to the window. Downtown Silver Ridge spread below, peaceful in the afternoon light. You have 2 choices. Mom, sign now and keep a roof over your head, or don't sign and lose everything in court. Either way, I'm taking back what's mine. Behind me, I heard the pen scratching on paper, each signature another nail in Doug's coffin. The retraction, Aiden said, pulling up Facebook on his laptop. We've drafted the language. You'll post it from your account, right now, while we witness it. Mom read from the screen, her voice hollow. I, Marla Whitaker, posted false and defamatory statements about my daughter, Evelyn Hart. The claims I made were untrue. My daughter is the rightful co-owner of our family property and has acted legally to protect her interests. I was manipulated by my husband, Douglas Riker, who has been charged with assault, fraud, and forgery. I retract all previous statements and apologize for the harm caused. Post it, Aiden said. She clicked share. Within seconds, the comments started rolling in. The same people who'd attacked me were now turning their anger toward Doug. The locksmith will be there at 9 a.m. tomorrow, I told Mom. You'll get a new key. Doug won't. The security cameras are already installed if he shows up. The police will be called automatically. Evelyn, Mom said, standing on shaky legs. I'm still your mother. No, I said, not turning from the window. You were my mother. You chose to stop when you posted that photo of me for the world to mock. When you stood there at 3 a.m. and let him hurt me. When you picked a gambling alcoholic con man over your own daughter. I loved him, she whispered. And I loved you, I replied. Past tense. Aiden escorted her out. When he returned, he found me still at the window. Grandpa's K-bar knife on the table beside me. The restraining order is permanent as of this morning, he said. Doug violated it twice over the weekend, drove by the house, sent messages through a friend. He's being arrested as we speak. Good. The forensic accountants found more. He continued. Doug has 3 other women he's conned over the years. Similar pattern moved in, isolated them from family, drained their resources. You're the first one who fought back. I picked up the knife, running my finger along the worn handle where Grandpa's hands had gripped it in Korea. He picked the wrong family to rob. The criminal trial starts next month. The civil suits will take longer, but you'll win. The evidence is overwhelming." "I know," I said. "I built it that way." Outside, Silver Ridge went about its evening routines, unaware that in this office, the foundations of one con man's scheme had just crumbled to dust. Tomorrow, workers would change the locks. Ridgeline Restoration would assess the damage Doug had done to Dad's workshop. The house would become mine alone, as it should have been all along. "One more thing," Aiden said, handing me an envelope. "From Tom Mitchell and the other veterans. They pooled money to buy back all of your grandfather's items Doug sold. Everything they could track down. It's all been recovered." Inside was a list, each item checked off. Grandpa's medals, his dress uniform, the watch he'd worn in Korea, even the tools from Dad's workshop. For the first time since this started, I felt tears threaten, but I held them back. There would be time for tears later, when this was truly over. For now, there was still work to do. Doug's lawyer looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Graham Lyle sat across from us in the courthouse mediation room, sweating through his polyester suit despite the air conditioning. "My client is willing to settle," Graham said, sliding a paper across the table. $60,000 for Mr. Riker to drop all claims to the property and issue a formal apology." Aiden actually laughed. "He wants us to pay him. Your client is facing 8 to 12 years for assault, forgery, and fraud. He should be begging for mercy, not asking for money." "This is a good offer," Graham insisted. "It makes everything go away. Ms. Hart can remove the surveillance footage from evidence, and everyone moves on." I leaned forward. "Counter offer. Doug pleads guilty to all charges. He provides a written confession detailing every forged document, every item stolen and sold, every fraudulent transaction. He returns the $70,000 from the home equity loan. I know he has at least $20,000 hidden because we tracked his withdrawals. He posts a public apology on every Facebook group where he shared Mom's post, admitting he edited the photos and orchestrated the defamation, and he serves his full sentence." "That's not a settlement," Graham sputtered. "That's surrender." "Yes," I said simply. "It is. My client will never—" The door burst open. Doug stood there, reeking of whiskey despite his bail conditions. "This bitch thinks she can—" "Mr. Riker," Graham jumped up. "You can't be here. You're violating the restraining order and your bail conditions." "Fuck the conditions," Doug swayed, pointing at me. "That house is mine. I earned it. 10 years of dealing with that pathetic woman and her dead hero father stories." Aiden was already recording on his phone. "Please, Mr. Riker, keep talking." "You think you're smart." Doug stepped closer. Security was already moving down the hallway, but Doug was on a roll. "Your dad was a loser. Came back from Iraq all fucked up. Couldn't even what?" I asked calmly, though my hands clenched under the table. Couldn't even keep his family together. Had to buy that house to pretend he was still worth something. Just another broken vet living in the past. The security guards arrived, but I held up my hand. "Let him finish." Doug grinned, thinking he was winning. "Your grandfather, senile old fool. Didn't even notice when I sold his shit. Kept talking about honor and service while I was pawning his medals. And your mother, desperate woman, so scared of being alone. She'd believe anything I told her, including that you served in Desert Storm," I asked. "Everyone loves a veteran." Doug shrugged. "Gets you respect, discounts, sympathy." "No one ever checks?" "We did," Aiden said. "And we've forwarded your false claims to the FBI. Stolen valor is a federal crime when used for financial gain." Doug's face went white, then red. "You fucking—" The security guards grabbed him as he lunged forward. His lawyer looked ready to faint. "That's assault attempt number 2, Aiden noted. "In a courthouse, with witnesses." As they dragged Doug away, he screamed, "That house is mine. I'll burn it down before I let you have it." "And that's terroristic threats," Aiden added. "Graham, I think your client just added 5 years to his sentence." Graham sank into his chair. I need to withdraw as counsel." "Before you do," I said, pulling out my tablet, "your client should see this." I played a video from my phone footage from this morning at 4:30 a.m. Doug's brother Earl and 2 other men trying to break into the house on Spruce Hollow. The new security system had caught everything in 4K resolution. "They thought they'd beat the locksmith," I explained. "Take whatever they could before the locks changed, but the silent alarm triggered, and Deputy Ortiz was very interested to find them carrying crowbars and rope." On screen, the 3 men were surrounded by police cars, hands on their heads, Earl shouting about taking back what's ours. "Earl's already confessed," Aiden added. "Said Doug promised him $10,000 to recover property." Of course, breaking and entering with tools constitutes burglary, conspiracy, and attempted theft. Graham was taking notes frantically. "I need to speak with the prosecutor." "She's waiting in her office," Aiden said. "She'd like to discuss adding charges." "Oh, and the IRS called they're very interested in Doug's unreported gambling winnings from 2019. Apparently, he hit a $15,000 jackpot and never filed the taxes." After Graham left, practically running, I stood at the window watching the parking lot. Below, Doug was being loaded into a police car, still screaming. A news van had pulled up. Someone had tipped them off about the courthouse drama. "The Facebook groups have been interesting," Aiden said, scrolling through his phone. "Look." The Silver Ridge Proud page had pinned a new post. "We apologize for sharing false information about Evelyn Hart. After learning the truth about Douglas Riker's crimes, we're committed to being more careful about what we promote. Veterans in our community have confirmed Mr. Riker never served. We stand against stolen valor and elder abuse." Below it, hundreds of comments from people who'd shared Mom's original post, now apologizing, sharing their own stories about Doug's cons, offering support. Tom Mitchell had posted, "Evelyn Hart is her father's daughter, a fighter who defends what's right. Her family served this country with honor. Doug Riker is a parasite who stole from heroes. I know which one I stand with." "There's one more thing," Aiden said, pulling out a document. "The civil suit just got more interesting. 3 of Doug's previous victims want to join as co-plaintiffs. Apparently, your case gave them courage to come forward. Their combined losses, over $300,000. He'll never be able to pay that. No, but his assets can be seized. That truck he loves? Gone. The Harley he bought with your mom's retirement fund? Gone. Every penny in every account frozen then distributed to victims." My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "Doug's been arrested again. I'm scared." I thought about responding, then deleted the text. She'd made her choice long ago. "What's next?" I asked Aiden. "We wait for the prosecutor to add charges. With the courthouse incident, the breaking and entering, the IRS issues, and the stolen valor, Doug's looking at 15 to 20 years minimum. He'll die in prison." Outside, the news crew was setting up, ready to broadcast the story of the con man who'd preyed on a grieving widow, stolen from veterans, and assaulted his stepdaughter only to lose everything when she fought back. Tomorrow, the story would be everywhere. But tonight, I'd drive back to the house on Spruce Hollow, walk through rooms that held memories of Dad and Grandpa, and know that I'd kept my promise to protect what they'd built. Doug thought he'd won by making me the villain in Mom's story. Instead, he'd written his own ending in a cell, wearing orange, with nothing but time to think about the family he'd tried to destroy and the woman who'd destroyed him instead. The call came at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, 3 weeks after Doug's courthouse meltdown. Judge Bishop had signed the warrant at midnight after reviewing everything: the assault video, the courthouse threats, the attempted break-in, the IRS fraud, the stolen valor evidence. The prosecutor had worked through the night, determined to end this definitively. At 3:07 a.m., exactly 1 month after Doug had kicked down my bedroom door, I stood with Aiden and the sheriff's department outside a rundown gas station on the outskirts of Silver Ridge. Doug had been squatting in the abandoned building since his brother Earl got arrested, thinking he was clever, thinking he was hidden. The sheriff's voice boomed through the megaphone. "Douglas Riker, Step out with your hands where we can see them. This is the Summit County Sheriff's Department with a warrant for your arrest." For a moment, nothing. Then the door creaked open, and Doug stumbled out, shirtless, still drunk from whatever he'd been drinking to forget his collapsing world. Even now, even caught, he couldn't stop himself. "This is my property," he slurred, though we all knew the gas station had been foreclosed 5 years ago. Deputy Ortiz stepped forward, reading from his card. "Douglas Riker, you're under arrest for assault and battery, forgery, fraud, making terroristic threats, violating a restraining order, conspiracy to commit burglary, tax evasion, and false personation of a veteran. You have the right to remain silent." Doug's eyes found mine across the lot. "You destroyed my life." "No," I said, holding up my phone. "You did that yourself. I just documented it." With perfect timing, I hit the button I'd been waiting to press. Mom's Facebook account, which she'd given me access to as part of our agreement, lit up with the post we'd crafted with the lawyers. "I, Marla Whitaker, publicly apologize for the false statements made about my daughter, Evelyn Hart. The truth is, Douglas Riker manipulated me into defaming my own child while he stole from our family. He forged my signature on loans, sold my father's military honors, assaulted my daughter, and lied about his own service record. I support all charges against him and stand with my daughter in seeking justice. The evidence is clear. Doug Riker is a con man who preyed on a grieving widow. I was blind, but now I see." The post included photos Doug's fake military ID, the forged loan documents, screenshots of him selling Grandpa's Purple Heart, and the court documents listing all charges. Doug lunged forward, but the officers were ready. The satisfying click of handcuffs number 8 cuffs. Regulation police issue echoed across the empty lot. Tach! The sound was final, definitive. Doug Riker, the man who'd terrorized my family, who'd stolen from veterans, who'd beaten me on my own kitchen floor, was going away. For good. As they pushed him into the back of the squad car, I thought about everything that had led to this moment. Mom's viral post that had reached over 200,000 people, the hidden cameras that caught his violence, the paper trail he'd been too arrogant to hide, the community that had finally seen through his lies. Silver Ridge would remember this, not as the story of an ungrateful daughter, but as the tale of a woman who'd fought back against a predator with nothing but the truth and good documentation. The squad car pulled away, Doug's face pressed against the window, mouth moving in what were probably curses I couldn't hear. Behind us, the sun was starting to rise over the mountains, painting the sky the same pink as the bruise he'd left on my face a month ago. "It's over," Aiden said. "Almost," I replied, pulling out the keys to the house on Spruce Hollow. "One more thing to do." An hour later, I stood in Dad's workshop, now restored. The veterans had returned everything, every tool, every memento, every piece of Grandpa's legacy. On the workbench sat a photo Dad in his Army uniform, Grandpa in his Marine dress blues, both smiling at the camera. I placed Grandpa's K-bar knife in its display case, right where it belonged. Below it, I hung a printed screenshot of the Silver Ridge Gazette headline, "Local con man sentenced to 18 years, victims finally see justice." Mom still lived in the house. As our agreement allowed, we passed in the hallways like ghosts, no longer mother and daughter, just two people sharing a space shaped by betrayal. She'd testified against Doug, helped the prosecution, done everything required, but some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. They just leave scars on both sides of the water. As I locked Dad's workshop and headed back to Denver, back to my life at Summit and Crew, I thought about the last thing Doug had screamed as they drove him away. "You'll regret this." No, Doug. The only thing I regret is not installing those cameras sooner. The house on Spruce Hollow stands protected now, wrapped in legal documents and security systems, holding the memories of honorable men who served their country and raised a daughter who knew how to fight back. Doug thought he could take it all with lies and violence. He learned the hard way paper cuts might seem small, but when you have enough of them, filed correctly, they can destroy a man. The mountain winds still blow through Silver Ridge, but the loudest sound that morning wasn't the wind. It was justice, clicking shut at 3:07 a.m. Thank you for listening to this story of betrayal, justice, and the power of standing up for what's right. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop a comment below and let's connect. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to the channel and share your thoughts. Have you ever had to fight for what was rightfully yours? Tell me your story in the comments. Your support means everything. And remember, document everything, trust your instincts, and never let anyone steal your family's legacy.